Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi, one of the Democrats on the Oversight Committee. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. Good evening.
Good evening.
Let's talk about the breaking news. What do you make of the president's comments on North Korea? He says there could be a chance that we'd end up in a major conflict with North Korea.
You know, I believe that this is a very serious situation. I was part of a classified briefing yesterday that the Vice President, along with the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and the Director of National Intelligence provided. And I agree it's a very serious situation. I just hope that we can lower the temperatures a little bit and not rattle too many sabers. You know, we have to be prepared. We have to de-escalate this conflict in a peaceful way as much as possible, and we have to hope that we can work with China to exert any and all leverage over the North Koreans to basically de-escalate the tensions right now.
He does say in that interview that he'd like to solve things diplomatically, but says it'll be difficult. Do you think there's a strategy behind the president's remarks?
Possibly, but I think that right now we have to avoid all tweets. We have to avoid provocative measures, especially with someone as unstable as the North Korean leader, you know, on the other side. I think rather than engaging in provocative measures or rattling sabers, we have to intensely pursue a peaceful solution through diplomacy.
Congressman, he did say in that interview he wasn't sure if Kim Jong-un was stable or not. So he says, I'm not giving an opinion about that. What do you think of that?
Well, look, I think that I too hope that the North Korean leader is rational. If he's not, we have a whole other problem on our hands. But right now, we have to assume that he's rational and that we have to pursue all diplomatic means to de-escalate this conflict.
Congressman, let's talk about the other breaking news that we have tonight. House Republicans have delayed a vote on Obamacare, the repeal of it. They will not vote this week, meaning that most likely we'll have no votes and he won't get this credit for the first 100 days. What's your reaction on that?
You know, I don't think the American people really care about whether, you know, he gets this American Health Care Act passed within 100 days. I think what they care about is making sure that we have the best health care system possible. We have challenges under the Affordable Care Act, and we need to work together in a bipartisan fashion.
You think it means that he doesn't have the votes on it, and that's why he's not doing it? That's why they're not?
Yeah, he doesn't have the votes. He didn't have the votes 3 weeks ago. He doesn't have the votes now, and that's why they're not even bringing it to a vote. But again, I think that we have to work in a bipartisan fashion to improve the current Affordable Care Act. And you know, I think that the fact that for a second time they're not able to muster votes on the Republican side to bring their proposal to a vote, you know, means that you know, hopefully they'll come to the table and we can actually work together to improve the current system.
What does that say to you if they have a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and a Republican White House, and they can't, and they've had 7 years of trying to repeal and replace Obamacare, and they haven't been able to do it? What does that say to you?
I think that what it says to me that it's a lot easier to say no, as they have been doing for 7 or 8 years, in terms of not wanting to improve the current system. But now that they're in charge, they have to own up to the responsibility of improving it because too many lives depend on it. We've received literally thousands of letters and phone calls detailing very moving stories of how people's lives have improved significantly under the Affordable Care Act. At the same time, they point out some of the challenges, and that's what we have to work on together to improve.
All right, and more developing news, as if we didn't have enough, but I want to talk about the President Trump's former National Security Advisor, Michael Flynn, under investigation from the Defense Department. He didn't get permission to travel to Moscow. He was paid by the Kremlin-backed news station RT, allegedly didn't disclose that, and he was warned about accepting payments from foreign governments. Do you think Michael Flynn broke the law?
Well, I agree with Chairman Chaffetz, who said yesterday that we haven't seen any evidence that he complied with the law. Just to alert your viewers, the law is very clear. A retired military officer must get permission from the American government if he or she is to accept any foreign payments or payments from any foreign governments. That is a warning given to every military officer before they leave the service. Michael Flynn did receive that warning. There's no evidence that he did comply with that law, and now we know that the Army Inspector General is investigating these violations, just as the Oversight Committee is. I had a chance to review classified briefings yesterday, classified documents yesterday, and they raised the same questions that we're seeing raised in these documents today. And we're seeing a lot of smoke here. It's time to get to the bottom of this. We got to press this investigation further. The White House must turn over any and all documents related to this issue.
In the short time we have left, I want to play this because Congressman Elijah Cummings, your colleague, is saying that this is a cover-up, slamming the White House for refusing any documents related to the investigation. Let's play this.
I watched Sean Spicer make all kinds of excuses about how hard it would be to comply with our requests. Come on, man. I honestly do not understand why the White House is covering up for Michael Flynn. I don't get it. After the president fired him for lying.
So if he didn't comply with the law, one would say that's the same thing as breaking the law. Do you agree? Is this a cover-up?
I don't know whether it's a cover-up. What I do know is they're not producing documents related to either the vetting of Michael Flynn or the firing of Michael Flynn. I'm almost certain that such documents exist, and I think the White House must produce these because, as I said before, there's so many questions at this point, and there are just no answers. And at the end of the day, the reason why this matters is because we need to know ultimately about the state of our national security, whether any secrets were compromised, and how did we get to this position where Michael Flynn could actually become the National Security Advisor after having so many extensive contacts with Russia and in the process receiving a lot of money from them.
Yeah. Congressman